Hello, Brickworld. So I was told by somebody that I needed to brick to the future. Some 30 years, right? So wow, things have changed. Lego's changed. As a matter of fact, here's some of the sets they had back in 1985. You recognize some of those? All right, let's get this over with. Favorite theme? Shout it out. All right. So I'm not actually Marty McFly, but I am a Lego enthusiast. I'm a fan of Back to the Future, so it seems fitting to put on this getup for a little entertainment value. And not to mention, we're going to be time traveling in a few minutes, and that I wasn't sure I might be allergic to all synthetics in the future. So, also when I was fixing up my hair, you know, back the 80s hair where it's all feathered and whatnot, I realized that this is my normal hair. So I don't know what that says about me. Yeah. Woo. All right, so I'm really stoked to be here in front of you, giving a little bit of a keynote address, if you will, and I'll try and keep it a little short. But before we get started, I wanted to plug my friends at Beyond the Brick. You know, those guys that travel around the Lego events and document everything. They have a Kickstarter campaign going on. For those of you that are interested in receiving a copy of the documentary that is the full coverage of all these events. So go to Kickstarter, check out what they're doing, become a backer, and get a cool copy of the video. Now, for those that don't know me, I am a longtime toy fanatic and owner of Brickforge.com. If you're unfamiliar with what we do, we make small-scale replica accessories that are compatible with your Lego or other brand brick-building miniature figurines, or as we call them, minifigs. We've been around in some form since 2003, actually. A little bit of trivia. Does anybody know that before we were called Brickforge, what our name was?
George.
I know Peter Gunther knows. Shout it out. We were actually Red Bean Studios. Yeah, see, there we go. Yeah. All right. Even more interesting trivia is I'm such a toy enthusiast that I helped co-create jptoys.com, which is Jurassic Park Toys, which is kind of relevant because the new 4th episode of the Jurassic Park saga just came out, and way back then I was a collector of toys, just like I am Lego today. We have been, Brickforge has been an event sponsor almost every year, I think except the first year because we didn't know what we were getting into. But here's some cool photos from the past few years. We enjoy being a sponsor, we like helping this show grow, and hopefully that's of some benefit to you guys, and put goodie things in the goodie bags. That's always fun. Speaking of which, what do you think of the goodie bags this year? Go Cubs! I heard they're supposed to win the series this year. Well, we got one Chicago team that won, so hey, who knows? Stranger things have happened. Well, those things aren't cheap to produce, so I need you guys to do something for me. You all have smartphones. You're all on Facebook. Your smartphones have a Facebook app. So I would like you to go to your smartphone Facebook app, find Brickforge, and give us a like. All right. Now, when I came here, my employees didn't think I could get at least 50 likes out of you guys. Now, come on, really? Don't send me back there with my tail tucked between my legs. I'm going to get 50 likes. So you can do it while I'm talking, that's fine. Or you can do it afterwards. Or you can do it sometime this week when you're bored, tired of building. Or if you're on Instagram. Should we unlike it first? So yeah. No, well, you can do that if you want, it won't make a difference, but you gotta like it. Alright, a little bit about myself. I actually grew up just a few miles from here in Lombard. So if you're from the area, hey, that's kind of neat. I'm a Cubs fan. I'm sorry, I'm a Cubs fan. That's why I designed the minifig. And I'm a Hawks fan. I grew up playing hockey, street hockey mainly, a little bit of ice hockey, but it's kind of the scene from Wayne's World where we had the goals in the street, we had the old car, and we had to move it back. But those were fun times. I was fairly athletic as a kid, but one of my favorite things to do was to role play. I loved going around the backyard or the neighbors' yards and pretending I was Indiana Jones or Han Solo. And I really liked acting too. Most of all, I love toys. Action figures mostly. So I grew up, a child of the 80s. I had the Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Masters of the Universe, Transformers. So it seemed only fitting that I gravitated towards Lego because they had small-scale action figures. And that's really what drew me in and made me a Lego fan ever since. Well, as you know, the Lego system was designed to be a system of play. You could create and build, and I don't know if you remember some of those play sets back then were monstrous. G.I. Joe had some aircraft carrier that was like $100. But Lego, you could build whatever you wanted. It was such a smaller scale, you could fit it in your toy chest without any problem. So I thought that was really cool. Some of my first sets. I think the police station was actually my first set. Police was okay. I didn't understand that the base plate had little dots on it, so you can figure out where everything was built. Some of my favorite sets since then were the FX Star Patroller. I still really like that one. And as a matter of fact, I think somebody built an updated version of the FX Star Patroller. Maybe Chris Giddens. He's really talented. I like what he does. 375 Castle. Love the yellow castle. And the 10212 Imperial Shuttle. Because I'm a Star Wars fan. And that was one of my favorite scenes when you're trying to sneak through the Death Star field on the shuttle Tiberium. Yeah, and they're going to keep making more shuttles, aren't they? How many X-Wings are we on at this point?
32.
Yeah. I had a brief dark ages going into high school. Lego just wasn't cool back then, or maybe it just wasn't cool as other things, like maybe dressing up like Marty McFly. Went to school, studied business at Cedarville, and eventually I landed my first job at a .com company. You remember those? No. But I learned the ropes. I did some cool marketing stuff. I did graphics, learned some software, self-taught myself HTML and programming. Do you remember the first HTML web pages? When everybody tried to put as many animated GIFs on it as possible and drive you nuts? Oh man. But I never quite lost touch with the toys, staying connected through the internet forums and whatnot. After I graduated, I was looking for a hobby. I was always about the hobbies. I was looking at a hobby. So I remember that my parents still had my suitcase of Lego at home. So I asked them, hey, do you still have this, or did you garage sale it? No, they still had it. Cool. So I became even a bigger geek when I asked my mom to bring down my suitcase of Lego to a 23-year-old single guy. Probably a similar story to many of you, but it was all downhill from there. I started collecting, building, but you know what? It got really expensive back then, didn't it? I mean, when you wanted the multiples of the same part, you actually had to buy multiple sets. What? Man, I don't know about you, but that really did get expensive. So thank goodness for Bricklink and Auxzilla and local support groups, valuable friends. Let's see, where's Rodney? There you go. He remembers that, right? Thanks for those clear bricks back then. I think I got like 200 trans clear 1x2s. Wow. I built an iceberg out of them, by the way. So yes, it was expensive, even though you could start buying things on third-party websites, and that caused me to gravitate towards what we call Minifig Customization. Some of you have heard about that, some of you haven't. I met a few other fanatics, and it was a relatively new concept, but we were pretty creative about it. We would take the boring, mundane, classic smiley face minifigs, and we would alter them to create really cool heroes or rock and roll stars. And we had a lot of fun, because back in the 90s, the sets were kind of mundane. All right, so we saw the same swords as we did in the 80s, the same helmets, the same armor and headgear and all that stuff. It just was meh. We maybe got one new part every theme. There wasn't much you could do about that. So we got out our Sculpey modeling clay and started making our own helmets. We got out our X-Acto knives. Sorry for you purists. And we chopped up existing elements to make them look like something we saw out of a historical or fantasy movie. Anything that would make our little heroes cooler. Well, that caught on. And over time, it allowed me to start creating these parts for other people. And in some cases, it was just as simple as creating a new torso pattern or a shield design for these minifigs and print them out on the dot matrix color printer. I think there's like one of those in my city at the time, but I managed to find it. Needless to say, the sub-hobby of this group grew pretty quickly, and Brickforge was born. Of course, first it was Red Bean Studios, but as we moved forward, we realized this had some really cool potential. And, well, all my friends wanted this stuff, so I was just going to share it with them. So, we're going to come back to that story later. But right now, I want to talk about innovation, as is the title of the keynote that I'm giving here. I'm not a Lego executive, so I can't share all these secrets that are going on in Denmark. I haven't written a book on any specific topic. I don't have a bunch of research and charts to show you tonight. But as an AFOL, and part of this unique culture that we all belong to, I feel that I have some valid observations that are worth sharing with the rest of you. They may be obvious, they may not be. But we're going to keep moving along, and I'm going to give you some interesting insights. So yeah, innovation. So we talk about innovation this, innovation that, Lego's innovation, other toys are innovative. It's kind of an overused word, if you will. Innovation is really a transformation or a deviation, a metamorphosis of ideas that generate something new. All right, it's not as simple as, ooh, we changed our business strategy and that was innovative. All right, we'll call that little innovation. But it's using existing ideas and theories to move something along down a different path. But true innovation is something that people haven't seen before. And so what I'd like to do is travel into the past so we can better understand the future. So who wants to go to the past with me? Who wants to get out of here early? I hear you. I've been there several years in a row listening to other people. So time circuit's on, right? Flux capacitor, fluxing, that's right. So we're going to start at 1949 when a small Danish toy company saw some plastic construction bricks and said, hey, we got an injection mold machine, we should do that too. And so they transformed their business from selling wooden toys to including plastic toys. Yes, it's an innovation, even though there were other people at the time doing something similar, but they did integrate this new idea into their business model, and they created these automatic binding bricks that we've come to grow and love, although they have been altered since. So that's fairly innovative. That's where it all started. We'll count that, okay? That's innovative. 1955, the Lego company took these automatic binding bricks and they created a system of play. They created a universe around them. Now, it's worth mentioning that at this time, model railroad hobby was getting pretty big. Right? A lot of people would put together these trains and these large-scale dioramas and trees, and they immersed themselves in this kind of miniature world where they could steer a locomotive and make things happen. So what Lego did is they took the automatic binding brick and they built little houses and buildings out of them, and did the same thing. They made these little dioramas that you could enjoy and move all the plastic figures and plastic cars around. That was definitely an innovation because it changed how something popular was being put together. In 1961, we have the wheel. Oh, the wheel. Y'all remember those ugly little wheels, red wheels with the black tires on them? Alright, so up until this point, the Lego system consisted of these individual small plastic molded cars. You've probably seen some pictures of them. Maybe some of you have collected them. I would have had a picture up here, but I feel like my slides were going to be too graphic heavy, and I didn't really want to weigh down the memory and all that. So you just have to kind of picture these things. Small scale cars. The wheel allowed Lego to not only make buildings and structures out of the automatic binding brick, but to create vehicles on wheels. Now, those cars, those little plastic cars, you know, if you've heard of Lesney products out of the UK, they were one of the first companies to start making 1/87th scale matchbox type cars, die-cast cars. So really, those original plastic cars that came in the early Lego system sets weren't anything innovative. But with the creation of this wheel, they could create their own buildable vehicles, which was innovative. At least I think it was. I think it was pretty neat. One observation about that is you notice that the vehicles went from being 1/87th scale to like HO scale, just because the wheels were so big. So you notice the new vehicles that came out, whether it was a fire truck or an ambulance or a gasoline truck, were much bigger in scale to the old system sets, which were being phased out at about this time. 1964, here's one for you, instructions. I mean, what were these kids doing before that? They were just looking at the picture, building this stuff? They're probably getting it wrong 90% of the time. Not that it mattered, right? It's a creative product. But hey, look, some of us are right brain and left brain. So instructions allowed those of us with more of a left brain or right brain leaning to actually grasp what was going on during the building process. Why it was being built the way it was. How it was being built. It really engaged more kids into the process using instructions. So I think that's an innovation. 1966, we have trains. Not an innovation. Good product line though. Not very innovative. As I mentioned, they were already doing it. Lego just kind of said, hey, we're already making houses and cars, let's make trains. They already had the wheel. 1969, Duplo. Alright, I kind of like this one because some are going to argue that, well, it was just a product line, so it wasn't really innovative. But the key to this is that Lego upscaled the small brick to a larger size. That's somewhat innovative because it engaged a younger group of kids earlier on in their life. And it enabled Lego to capture them when they turned 6 or 7 and could start enjoying those larger system sets. I think that was innovative, at least marginally innovative, so maybe it's a middle eye. We have a large eye, small eye, middle eye. 1974, people. They had people. So they realized, hey, back then, a decade earlier, we had these individually molded small-scale people, just like the model railroads did back then. But now that they've upscaled their vehicles to integrate with the larger wheel, those things didn't fit anymore. So they created buildable figures. You know, remember the noodle arms and the round heads? Hated those things. You never find a use for them. If somebody can make some sort of mock that integrates those parts, more power to them. But yeah, at first those figures were pretty large and goofy looking. But over time, as they created smaller wheels, they were able to create smaller vehicles. And as the old System series was being phased out, we saw the new Legoland series kind of coming in. And so we saw the small-scale cars, and they needed smaller-scale people, and it eventually led to the cute little articulated minifigs that we know today. In, I think it was like 1979, 78, 79, they released that. So that was innovative. It brought people back into the building process as role-playing, just like what I used to like to do. 1975, Expert Builder, known as Technic. The standard construction bricks were altered to accommodate more advanced building techniques using beams, cogs, levers, axles, joints. Innovative? I don't know. Does anybody remember erector sets? All right. So I think maybe they took an existing idea and kind of integrated their own stuff into it. Not very innovative. So I'm going to scratch that one off the list. But we still have a pretty good list so far. 1979. Where's Mark Larson? Fabuland. I'm not sure about that. It's like an experiment between Duplo and System.
Watch it.
We won't say if it was successful or failed or not, but those figures were really darn cute, all right? Not really innovative, but it was a cool product line. Then what? We get to the 80s. I don't know. I mean, I really like the sets from the 80s. That's what drew me in. But I can't really think of an innovative product or integration that they had, even through the 90s. So as a toy collector, I kind of call that as toy figure fatigue. So, monorail. Well, let me make a slide with monorail in it here. Who wants monorail track, by the way? All right. So anyway, toys from the 80s and 90s, they went through this thing called toy fatigue, where they just kept regurgitating over and over, and they did these things called repaints. You know, as if you already had the first guy, but then he was back again with a different color scheme. And when that got tired enough, what did they start doing? Glow in the dark, adding chrome, and all that fun stuff. So Lego kind of fell into that pattern. So I'm scratching off a lot of innovation until we get to 1998, where they have Mindstorms. Now that was pretty cool. It changed the way that certain kids and adults engage the product. And this was created in tandem with MIT over the course of 7 years. And when it was finally released, it was hacked. How cool is that? Actually, it was a good thing, because it was the AFOLs that made it a better product. Think about that for a minute. 2003, Bionicle. I'm not going to touch that one. They did get a lot of new customers. I didn't understand it, but from an action figure point of view, I guess it kind of makes sense, buildable action figures. That's about as much as I'll say about that as far as me admiring it. So, it's going to look a little bit like, oh, I forgot about that stuff. Hey, did you know I collect playware weaponry? So I'm going to skip over a few slides because I want to move along. So this is kind of what the timeline would look like. Everything we just talked about, spanning about 50 or so years. Neat. So what of all of these, if any, was the most innovative? Or maybe somebody suggested I didn't add up all the innovations, and there are still some more out there. But I want to draw another comparison. And this kind of gets to the crux of what I want to hit home today with you guys, fellow AFOLs. 1993, Usenet, Recreation Arts Toys Lego. changed the entire hierarchy of the online discussion of toys. It used just to be recreation arts toys, but there was a Lego AFOL that decided to start making subgroups. They wanted Lego, and then it went to action figures and Matchbox cars and all this. It fundamentally changed that whole group of Usenet. I thought that was pretty phenomenal. 1994, a fan-created newsletter for Lego hobbyists. 1995, the term AFOL was first used. 1995, Auxilla. That's actually one of the things that kind of drew me in, because I was able to get like multiple parts from multiple sets. I just thought that was awesome. L-Draw, yet another thing that drew me in. Because instead of having to put out tons and tons of money for Lego sets, I could design it virtually. Now, do they still have digital designer that you can use? Okay. So this was before that. And boy, I remember talking to a few of you about L-Draw. I think, Tim, you may have been a part of that, and we had exchanged a few communications about setting up parts libraries and whatnot. You know, made, developed, and used by AFOLs. Somewhere about this time, we had local interest groups meeting in each other's parents' basements. In a few years, these people would be called lug groups. And we would see a website called LugNet that would strive to pull them all together. And so instead of talking to 5 or 6 people every month, you could just communicate with anybody you wanted to, all over the world. Created by an adult fan of Lego. I'm not even sure Lego had a website back then, did they? Oh yeah, they did. 1997, we had Brick Wars. Minifig game, in 1998, Brick Shelf, and the first robotics started experimenting with Lego as part of their robots. That's kind of cool. 1999, Jambalaya, a traveling parts box of Lego that you could take what you wanted out of it and put new stuff in. That was kind of innovative, I thought. 2000, Guild of Bricksmiths. So here we had adult fans of Lego buying Lego sets and using those parts to make their own non-Lego sets, which they would then sell to other adult fans of Lego. Interesting concept. That's kind of cool. In 2000, we also had Brickfest, the first Brickfest, which kind of kicked off this whole spiel where we get together and build and do other recreational activities. 2001, Minifig Customization. All right, this is my favorite because this is where people decapitated and drawn and quartered their little plastic friends only to reassemble them with different colors and combinations. Loved it. Or they made their own. 2002, we had Bricklink, previously known as Brick Bay. They came on the scene and made parts a little bit easier to come by. 2005, Brick Journal. And then we had brick blogs showing up everywhere. Everybody had a blog. Remember that? 2007, Lego asks AFOLs to design sets. I remember a few of those sets. They're kind of neat. 2008, Lego partners with AFOL to design an entire theme. Pretty neat. 2010, fan-printed elements with a 3D printer. Have you guys been on Shapeways yet? Yeah, it's just full of Lego elements, like custom Lego elements. It's incredible. In 2011, we have fan-created trading cards, of all things, made by an AFOL. Lego-inspired modular cell phones, record-breaking layouts. 2013, a Lego part was used to give a turtle a prosthetic leg. In 2014, Lego was used to give a girl a prosthetic leg. 2015, a do-it-yourself concrete furniture using Lego bricks as a mold. Kind of neat, all right? And most recently, we had a young boy create a Braille printer using Lego parts. Wow. These are all fans that are innovating using Lego. And we saw the previous slide. This is what this timeline kind of looks like. 20 years. These are just what I mentioned. There's many more than that. Is there a crazy feedback going on in here? All right. It sounds like there's like a robot hovering or something.
It's reverb from the past.
I better be careful because I might be erased from existence. Oh, who knows? So, yes, all these innovations were created by people who grew up with Lego, learned with Lego. Now they're becoming engineers, computer programmers, game developers, robot designers, STEM teachers, and business owners. Not to mention all the innovative building techniques that the AFOLs have come up with over the years. Snot, mosaics, offsetting, diagonal striping, cylinder curving, the way we build terrain, brick-built trees, brick-built animals. It's incredible. Now, Cambridge is looking for a professor of Lego. Over 60% of adults working in design-led jobs enjoy playing with Lego construction bricks as a child. So yes, we can certainly admire the Lego company for their innovations throughout the years. But, I'm going to go back a slide, I don't want to show that. Well, it's up there now. But I tell you what, out of all of this, based on my observations, Lego's most important one is you, the AFOL innovation. We've taken their product and we've worked wonders with it, to the point where the company is trying to emulate what we do. They're not quite sure what to do with us still.
Remark would be nice.
Well, I think we got that this year, didn't we? They created an army, and this army is creating more armies. Think about that for a minute. That's the crowning achievement of innovation, is creating fans of your product perpetually, over and over. Now, some of the people at Lego have figured this out, and in my interpretation, Kusu and Lego Ideas were a crowdsourcing, if you will, was used to tap into that army. It opened up a world of ideas and building techniques to the corporate design lab. They get free ideas. And what does the customer get? Satisfaction. That's fair, okay? But I'm green with envy because that is a great scenario for them. Using your fans, the AFOLs, and even the young kids who will hopefully grow up to be AFOLs, to promote your brand and to perpetually create better and better ideas. So as an AFOL myself, I have had the pleasure of attending these shows with you and building alongside of you and observing every move that the Lego company makes. I personally receive inspiration from all these things in both my hobby and my business. And I'm constantly looking for ways to bring innovation to Brickforge. So recently, I brought this up a little early, hopefully you're drooling over it, but we created what we consider modular accessories. These are accessories that build upon themselves. Somewhat of what I like to think is an innovation. There's a framework of armor that you wear, and you can tack all these accessories onto it, different colors, if you will, different prints, and they create whatever combination you want. And this is Series 1 in retail packaging, ready to go. Woo! Yeah! I was going to have to get my sunglasses and take them off slowly again and get some applause. But we have a few more things up our sleeves, and we're attempting to include our fans in the process through crowdsourcing, crowdfunding measures. We currently have a Kickstarter campaign going on for a unique twist on a minifig display stand. Some of you have seen it already. Some of you have backed us already. Thank you very much. We really enjoyed this project because you get to create a really cool video that showcases everything. And I would play the video for you, but it takes up too much time, too much bandwidth. So I really want to encourage you to go to Kickstarter, look up Brickforge, and check it out for yourself. We actually already met our goal. That's awesome. Within a week. We want to continue because we have stretch goals that may include some other elements that AFOLs have wanted for a few years now. Definitely not Galador.
Galador monorail.
Well, you didn't say no monorail at least.
I didn't say that, did I? Speculate at your own risk. So yeah, we want to include our fans in the process. This campaign, successfully funded, will now unlock other campaigns. It's kind of like going on a quest together, an adventure. At least that's the ambiance that I hope to achieve with our crowdsourcing techniques. So I really want you guys to take a look at that, become a backer if you are willing to, and join us along this journey. There's still some rewards available too. All the good ones are gone, by the way. Sorry. So yeah, these sort of projects, the ones that receive community feedback and channel my inner creativity, are really what keep me going. I have this passion, this obsession, if you will, of finding purists and convincing them that there's that one part out there that's non-Lego that if created by somebody other than Lego, they will buy. Everybody has their buying, they can be bought out at a certain point. I fully believe that. What? Minions. We'll let the customizers take care of that one. For me, that part was the cow. Alright, back in the 90s, remember mundane sets? I don't know about you guys, but I have a corral of horses. That's like the only thing I got out of these sets in the 90s. Horses. White horses, brown horses, black horses. Too many horses. I wanted the cow. Alright? I wanted the pig. I wanted the sheep. I wanted to dress up the barnyard or the old castle type sets with something other than cows. So guess what? Brickforge made them. You're welcome. But I thought that was pretty innovative. And perhaps to the point that maybe Lego thought it was a good idea. And they made their own cow. Yeah. How about the scooter? We made a scooter a long time ago, too. I thought that was pretty innovative. Lego thought so, too. So, I'm flattered. So, I'm going to wrap this up here because I know you guys are really wanting to get back to building and whatnot. But I want you to take a look at yourselves. Hopefully I've been a little bit entertaining, offered some insight. But, take some time to reflect and understand that as much as Lego has inspired you, you have inspired Lego and each other. So if a toy-loving child... It is. But if a toy-loving child can grow up and pursue their dream of becoming a toy maker, then goodness, there's nothing stopping you guys from pursuing your interests. And that, my friends, is the AFOL innovation. Thank you very much.